Hi, everyone. It's Nikki, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. It's 2026, and the Femme Flock has grown a lot. We've welcomed so many new faces, had some incredible podcast guests, built a street team, expanded in ways we honestly couldn't even imagine when we launched this back in 23 Goosemas. With so much change and growth, we felt like it was time to sit down as a team and reintroduce ourselves. So here's how it's going to go. First, each of our full-time team members are going to share a bit about who they are, their journey into the jam band world, how they found their way here to the Femme Flock, a little bit about what they do. Then we'll come together as a team for a group conversation about what the Femme Flock is, why we're here, where we're headed, and how you can get involved if you feel so inclined. So let's get started. With me, I'm Nikki. I'm your friendly neighborhood Femme Flock podcast host, and I am coming to you from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I have been involved with the Femme Flock since the beginning. Me and my friends started it. I am a mom of a 23-year-old who is now a jam band fan herself. I love yoga. I love cooking. And my current mild obsession is indie nail polishes. So originally became the host because I had the most experience talking to the public. I worked for a very large telecommunications companies for, we'll just say, let's over 25 years on the phones in customer service. So I was always the one of my friends too in college who would call and order the pizzas or set up the plans or set up the utilities. So it's just naturally where I gravitate to. How did I find my way to the jam scene? Let's see. Well, I went to college. I actually became friends with the hippies in my dorm, and the natural draw of them being friendly and fun and colorful just is where it took off from. I am an OG Grateful Dead fan. I saw my first show in 1992 in college. Yes, I saw Jerry probably around 30 times. During also that time, I was given a bootleg of Fish, Arrowhead Ranch, and I haven't looked back since. That's actually been my one go-to is jam band music. It's consistent. I've made some of my longest and oldest friends through the scene. My favorite show that I've ever been to is Big Cypress, of course. Lucky enough to do that long ago, 26 years to be exact. Still can't believe I was actually there. So if you have questions, please let me know. I would love to answer them. I've always noticed since the get-go of going to shows that women were the large minority. More so some than others, but always the minority. Always my boys I was hanging out with, especially in the 90s. Jam bands were dime a dozen. They were all over. And great time to be into and starting to get into the jam scene. But it was intimidating because it was nothing but men, probably twice as many as there is now. I feel like the more welcome and the more we're seen at shows, the more likely we're going to get more people that look like me. And that's everything. I want to be a safe place for people to go to, and I want them to feel comfortable to be their best selves. And I think the jam scene really allows people to do that. And hopefully, us being in the scene as we are will create more of a welcoming community for people and get a little bit more diversity than just dudes. So, with that being said, if you see me at a show, please don't hesitate to say hi. I love to talk to people, and I'd love to meet everybody. So hopefully I'll see you soon at a show.
Hi everyone, I am Leighton. I currently serve as the producer. I'm currently recording from the lovely Atlanta, Georgia, today where I was born and raised, but I'm now based in Texas, living in Fort Worth, but working in Dallas as a business insurance broker, and I'm specializing in sports, music, and live entertainment. So, very fitting for our interests here at the Femme Flock. Being raised in Atlanta, I'm definitely a Southern girl at heart. I love and appreciate all things football, hottie toddy by the way, and a lot of my musical roots stem from Southern rock. In terms of my first shows and early influences, my dad was definitely the reason that I got into jam music. I was raised on Fish and the Grateful Dead. Other prominent musicians in my house included the works of Alison Krauss, Green Sky Bluegrass, Willie Nelson, Ray LaMontagne, Robert Plant, Derek Trucks, Stevie Wonder, and I could honestly name 10 more musicians, but I'll leave that there. My first Fish show was in Atlanta, well, Alpharetta to be specific, at Verizon Wireless. And 3 songs into my first jam show ever. It was a 20-minute ghost, and that was August 3rd, 2018, if anybody's wondering. But yeah, when my dad turned over 3 songs in, we're deep into a 20-minute ghost, and I'm still able to hang. He knew that he successfully had one child who liked jam band music, and I think that was enough for him. If you are into the jams and get nerdy about that stuff like I do, then definitely check out the Karini from that night because it was really good. Yeah, I love the jams. I'm here for the jams. When it comes to the jam scene, it was certainly the music that hooked me before the community did, as proven. I was mainly going to shows with just my dad or family friends. But the community was what drowns me into the jam scene. When I say drown, I mean drown in a good way. Maybe submerge is the right word to use. Yeah, that was what submerged me into the jam scene and where I really fell in love with the community. But more specifically, Goose was the band that I had found and leaned into myself without my dad introducing that musical relationship to me. I've been listening to Goose since 2018 or 2019, but I was never able to make a show until 2022, and that was most certainly the catalyst of my jam community journey, and I would not trade it for anything else in the world. January of 2025, I reached out to the Femme Flock asking if they were looking for any help. I was riding on such a high from Bingo, Goosemas 2024, and the Goose New Year's Eve shows in Austin, which were my first solo shows. And after going to those shows solo and finding so many awesome people, I felt really inspired to be more engaged with the community. In terms of what resonated with me about the mission is that I've always really only seen shows with my parents or family friends, or if I was able to convince somebody my age to go to a show with me, it would be my guy friends. And I wanted to be able to connect with more girls in the scene. I knew that there had to be more girls out there who were like me and had a hard time meeting other girls that wanted to go see jam shows. So yeah, I wanted to find more girls like me who wanted to go see great live music and that I could hang out with. I also love the idea of having a strong network of friends all over the country. Like, I have friends everywhere now because of what this community has brought me. That is the coolest thing ever. I get to travel all over the country with some of my best friends through me, and we just get to constantly grow our circle and meet other new amazing people who are just stepping into the scenes themselves. I wanted everybody to feel that space, to feel welcome and loved and wanted the way that I did when I entered it initially. So my role specifically with the Femme Flock is producer, as I mentioned earlier. I do a lot of back-end fine-tuning and focus on certain projects like our Flocksgiving giveaway or launching video so you guys can watch our beautiful faces on YouTube, which I hope that you're doing right now. If not, you're streaming on other platforms, so that's just as awesome, but feel free to watch us on YouTube. And then another cool thing about my role is that I get to do a solo episode once every several months to mix up the dynamic of our conversations with guests. For my first solo episode, I talked with 2 fellow jam scene friends of mine who are Gen Z members, and we had a conversation about Gen Z and the jam scene. My next solo episode, I am interviewing one of the most badass women in the touring space for one of our favorite bands, which I'm really excited about, so stay tuned for that episode coming soon. That's kind of what my role looks like, and just always working on some sort of new project or figuring out how we can enhance the community, make things better. We have so many awesome things in store for the future. I want to thank each and every one of you for being along for the ride. Also, it's really important to know this. Just because you aren't the one speaking into a microphone right now does not mean that you aren't just as much part of the Femme Flock as I am, because you are. This community collective is for you. It's for us. It's for the community. We love you, and thank you all again for the support and just being part of this journey with us. Flock on.
Hey Femme Flock, it is Carly here, or Carly Ray Cyrus. Whatever you feel like calling me, I don't really care. I am here today to introduce myself. If my name or my face does not look recognizable, that's okay. I am new. I started with the Femme Flock back in August, September, and I do all things social media for the Femme Flock. So if you don't follow us and you're listening to the podcast right now, Why do you hate me? I'm kidding. But you should be following us specifically on Instagram and TikTok. TikTok more so. That's my baby, and you should be following. I am so excited to be here introducing myself, tell you a little bit more about me and how I got involved in the Femme Flock and why I love it so much and all the things. So let's get into it. I am currently based in Denver, Colorado, but I was born and raised on the East Coast. Outside of jam band culture, working for the Femme Flock, some things about me: I love to ski, which is so very Colorado of me. I have a bunch of hobbies, but I love to crochet, I love photography, I love videography, I love editing, which makes me kind of perfect for this role because I'm able to mesh kind of my hobbies with my passion of being in the jam band scene and loving jam band music and all the things. I have been a part of jam band culture full on since 2022, but it started with the good old Grateful Dead. If you're not watching on YouTube, which you should be, I'm about to switch my hats. Da-da-da-da. We're now putting my Dead hat on. I started with the Goose hat. Now that we're talking about the Dead, I gotta have the Dead hat on, obviously. I first heard the Grateful Dead in 2014. I wasn't raised by Deadhead, so sorry I didn't get to it sooner. And I had no idea what the Dead was until I first heard American Beauty on vinyl and heard Box of Rain and fell in love. I went to my first ever Dead & Co show in 2015, which was the closest I could get to the Grateful Dead, because if you can't tell, I'm a little young and I was not alive when Jerry was alive, unfortunately. But yeah, I went to my first show in 2015 at the Verizon Center in Washington, D.C., and I've been going to a show every year since, at least one. But 2022 was when I first started touring with Dead and Company and kind of entered fully the jam band scene. So if my face or my name looks familiar, you might know me from that. I have been vending at Dead & Co shows since 2022, and I've been making my silly little TikToks with it since, which has had an insane impact on my life and has allotted me some really cool opportunities to work with Relics Magazine and the official Grateful Dead and all of this really cool stuff. So I'm so grateful that my silly little TikToks made an impact. After that first tour in 22, I kept going, obviously. I did my next tour in 23. I did about 14 or 15 shows. And then 2024 was the Sphere. I did pretty much all of the Sphere in the summer. And then 2025, this past year in the spring, I did the Sphere again. I think I did all of them but 1 month, which is pretty good for me. The FOMO was insane. But with Dead & Co not touring this past summer, for the first time since I'd been following them, I finally got to have Carly's Big Jam Band Summer. I never really explored other jam bands when I fell in love with the Grateful Dead. Obviously, I knew they were out there. I'd heard of Fish and a bunch of other bands, but I never really got the chance to go see them because I was with Dead & Co. I was touring. I was busy. So this past summer was the first time I got to see Goose, Widespread Panic, hat change, Fish. And seeing all these bands has just grown my love for the jam band culture more. And I have more bands to see, more bands to love, and it's been amazing. But going back to this past summer, to my first ever Goose shows, I did 2 shows at Fiddler's Green this past summer, which is what led me to the Femme Flock. I met Jess and Andy who runs the street team for the Femme Flock, and I fell in love with them. I became obsessed with them. And I met them through my boyfriend, which that's a story for another day. Just kidding. But I met them and Jess pitched me the Femme Flock, and I was like, where do I sign up? How do I get involved? And being a woman in the jam band scene fully since 2022, I have always been the quote unquote minority, being one of the only women. My friend group was majority men, still is within the dead scene. And hey, they are incredible men, awesome men, wouldn't trade it for the world. But that being said, my female friendships within the jam scene have always been very limited. And I knew being in the crowd, you look around, see a lot of men, and it is what it is. But that being said, it's always been important to me to get other women and other underrepresented individuals involved in the jam scene if they want to be a part of it. I have been lucky enough to feel very comfortable in this scene, but I know there's a lot of people that don't, and it's important to me that we change that. And so when the Femme Flock, entered my life, I was like, this is perfect. This is how I can make an impact. And when I talked to Jess and asked her how I could contribute, I knew that my skill sets of social media could be helpful. So I started doing social media for the Femme Flock. I do videos on TikTok, Instagram. I make graphics, whatever it is they need, I do it. I say, hand it over, let me do it. I'll do whatever. And I love it so much. And it's been so fun to be a part of. And this community has been the biggest blessing in my life. And just a story I want to share in how this has impacted me is, when I did those first Goose shows at Fiddler's, I got ready for the shows with Jess and Andy. And we were putting on our glitter and our sparkles and all the fun stuff and, our Schneiders and just having a grand old time. I had my big t-shirt, my spinner skirt, and my bare feet and a hat. And, that's my uniform. And I just was loving it. And I just kind of looked at them and I realized in my past, 10 years of doing Dead & Co. and jam band shows and all this stuff, I've never gotten ready for a show with other women before, which was crazy. And it just felt like a very special moment and a very cool moment. And I want that for everyone. I want more of that in my life. I think the biggest thing for me is I want people to feel like they are allowed to be at these shows. No matter who you are, where you came from, it doesn't matter. If you are there for the music, if you love the music, you have every right to be there as everyone else in the room does. And I think being a part of the Femme Flock, I'm able to, make an impact and accomplish that. I, am so excited to be here, and I hope to see all your beautiful faces at a show. And I've had a really long, strange trip that has led me here, and I'm so beyond grateful for it. I hope this new year brings us a lot of amazing joy and happiness and growth and all the things. And just thank you guys for supporting the Femme Flock, for supporting us, supporting our mission. And again, I hope to see you all at a show. You can find me spinning barefoot somewhere. Let's boogie. Thank you guys. Bye.
Hi Flock, my name's Andy. I am your street team leader for our brand new street team that we launched in 2025. And I'm very excited to be officially a part of the Flock. I've been behind the scenes for a while now, but officially getting to join the team in 2025 has been amazing. If you don't know, I live in Boston, but I'm originally from Connecticut, and my introduction to the jam scene started around 2019 in my senior year of college. A mutual friend was talking to me about music, and I had already been heavily involved in music my whole life. I sing, I play piano, I grew up on classic rock, my dad's seen the Dead a few times, so I had already been heavily entrenched in seeing live music and music culture, but I hadn't really dived into the jam scene until 2019, which was when my first jam show was. It was at Dead & Co. at Citi Field the summer of 2019, and it truly changed my life for the better, and it was the stepping stone for all the amazing experiences that came afterwards. I truly had my I get it now moment, because I had spent months upon months of my senior year of college listening and getting into the Dead and Fish and learning all about the lore and the importance of seeing them live and why it's so special. And, I felt like I was getting the concept, but then seeing it in person, experiencing a show, experiencing it with people that I love and that I care about just made it 10 times better. And from there, my obsession truly took off. So like I said, that was in 2019, and then the world shut down in 2020. And that's when I really started to get into Goose, just because they're a Connecticut jam band and I was still living in Connecticut at the time. And I remember they did their bingo series where they did live streams, and it was a really great way to listen to live music and to get into the scene in the best way that we could at the time, because no one was having shows. And then I hit up the South Farms shows towards the end of 2020, where they did like the socially distanced pods. So that was really cool to experience Goose in that space as well. And so because they had given me the opportunity to see them live in 2020, I like really latched on to Goose. And because they were so up and coming, I felt like I could, make them my own. So because of that, I started going to Goose a lot. And I think it was around my 9th or 10th show, I ran into Jess. And Jess and I went to the same college. We were in the same sorority. So she's actually in my family, in my sorority. She's my G-Big. Shout out Theta. And she spotted my bleach blonde head from across the venue at Westville Music Bowl in June of 2021. And she was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I could ask you the same thing. What are you doing here?" And so she became my show buddy, and I sort of brought her into the community that I had already sort of created. I'm going to shows over the past 2 years, and the rest is history. She started the Femme Flock in 23, and I, was a big supporter from the beginning, but then I finally was like, you know what, I'm ready to have an official position, and I'm so happy that I'm finally here doing something that really resonates with me. My whole life, I've just wanted to make a difference in people's lives. My professional career is, I'm a community health worker, and I manage a team of 4 community health workers, and we do a lot of boots on the ground work in the community. And so the street team is such a great reflection of everything that I do in my personal and professional life. Being a part of this mission, getting to uplift voices, getting to create a safe space for people, getting to talk to people, getting to experience shows with them, just finding joy, creating spaces of joy. It is the biggest blessing ever, and I'm so happy that I'm here. If you have seen me at a show, you've probably seen me with my diffraction glasses and little Schneiders and glitter plastered over every square inch of my body. And I'm probably asking you for a hug. I'm such a hugger. I'm just really excited to be in this space and to experience live music with you all at every chance that I can get. I think I've told every single person that I know this, like, live music is truly what keeps me alive. 2025 was a really hard year for me, and being able to experience pockets of joy like jam shows truly saved my life. It is something that I will treasure forever, and I will never stop experiencing and never stop seeking out. I just think it's the best way to spend your time and to spend your money. And I disagree wholeheartedly with everyone who disagrees with that. I'm just so grateful, and I can't wait to see what 2026 and beyond brings us. And I can't wait to break my record of shows this year, because I almost broke 50. I was at 49 last year. So let's try to get to 50 shows this year. And I can't wait to flock around and find out. Love you all.
Hi everyone, I'm Jess, and I'm one of the founding members of the Femme Flock. At this point, I'd say my role is probably creative director, although like most things in life, in my life, I wear a lot of hats. I work on the socials, I podcast produce, obviously I'm on the podcast, I'm doing event planning, but I'd say overall just creative direction of where are we trying to go and leading the charge and community outreach. I come from an advertising background. Strategy and storytelling are kind of my home base, I guess. Speaking of home base, I live in New York City. I'm based in Williamsburg. We get all the jam bands here. I'm very lucky I've gotten to see a bit of everything, seeing as everyone likes to come play in New York. I'm also currently getting an MBA at NYU. I'm hopefully wrapping that up in the next year, but I do that part-time as I professionally wear many hats as well. I also collaborate with the Elgers Times and work for Osiris Media. I have a lot going on at once. ADHD is one of my superpowers in that I like to do it all. And one of my detriments is that I am a control freak, so I like to do it all myself. I grew up in Connecticut. My parents are actually in process of selling our childhood home, which is really depressing. But I also grew up spending a lot of time in Wyoming. I like to say I live on extremes between New York City and Wyoming. It doesn't really get more extreme than that. But yeah, I've always kind of just marched to the beat of my own drum. I love new experiences and trying anything twice. And all of those solo experiences have led me to be a confident, independent human who feels very sure of herself and her opinions, which I'm sure you've gotten to see a little bit if you've been following us for the last 4 years. As for like my entry point into the jam scene, I was not a jam girl growing up. Like, I joke, I'm not supposed to be here. I was a dancer. I actually went to high school for the arts. I have always loved music that's made me move. Very much like a pop girly, Miley Cyrus, Dua Lipa, Beyonce, that kind of like high energy girl shit is what spoke to me. Jam music was actually a COVID era discovery. I stumbled across Goose on Reddit, of all places, found a music video, spoke to me, realized they were playing in my hometown a couple weeks later, went to a show, ran into my sorority grand little from college. You know her as Andy. It all just kind of cracked open from there. I joined her crew, which then spiraled, and we made friends, and I went to more shows, and I've learned about the scene from there. Every Dead song I knew was a Goose cover first, which I can hear some of your eye rolls right now while I'm saying that. But it's true. Everything else kind of spawned out of Goose for me. But I think that's the beauty of this scene is we all got here differently. We all got here via our own path. And it's the music that keeps us together. The music is what spoke to me, but what I didn't expect here was like the community that came with it. And that was so surprising and so rewarding. Well, I guess I should talk about my path to the Femme Flock, which that was the start of it. But since I am a founding member, this really started with me meeting Nikki and Kara and realized we were all feeling similar things. And we'll dig into this in a bit on the group recording. But what started as just conversations and ideas grew into something bigger than like I could ever have imagined. This mission resonated with me because honestly, I am the mission. My experiences moving through the world as a woman and as a queer person and as someone with ADHD and a Jewish person shaped how I showed up to the scene. I recognize that all of those things make me intersectional and affects the way I move about the world. But I also know I'm incredibly privileged. And what I've noticed is that those things, being a woman, queer, ADHD, Jewish, have gotten in my way in the world. Like, they affect me on a daily basis and they create barriers for me all the time. So what about all the people who are more intersectional than me? What about everyone else who isn't straight white passing? Like, what about anyone who has a harder time? Like, if it's getting in the way of my life, like, I can only imagine what's getting in the way of theirs. And so the world is hard, but the music scene can be beautiful. It can also be exclusionary. So there's so much work to be done. And if we can make the music community just a little bit better for those people, for us, for all of us together as a community, like, the Femme Flock has become a way of building something within my control instead of just naming things I felt were broken. It's why I love the jam scene. If you've talked to me long enough, I've probably mentioned the male loneliness epidemic. I like how the jam scene allows men to show emotion and feelings and hug their friends and tell each other I love you. It's so important to dance. So we're going to talk a lot about why we're here and what our goals are and all of the things. But I thank you guys for being here. I thank you guys for joining us on this journey. I thank you for being part of the chaos, in the unhingedness, in the bits, in the weird outfits. I really mean it in that this changed my life. And I hope that we can change others, or at least just create a little bit safer, a little bit glitterier, more glittery, a little bit friendlier, and a community. So now we're all going to get together and talk about why we're here and what we're doing, and you're going to meet my beautiful team, and I'm so excited for the future here. Thank you.
Hey there. So you heard about all of us individually. Now, as a group, we're going to talk about the Femme Flock. So let's kick it off.
My turn. So, What is the Femme Flock? Great question. I get this question every day. We are a women-led, community-centered collective around the jam scene and the live music world with our goal of amplifying women and underrepresented voices here in the scene. We are a space for creativity, a space for joy, inclusivity, kind of a microcosm of like the culture in the scene. To back up, the Femme Flock refers to our collective, our community. We have a podcast called Flock Talk with the Femme Flock, where we do the actual amplification of women's voices, some advocacy, some chaos. It's all kind of part of the brand, you know, big sister energy. We love a good bit here. Silliness, glitter, bubbles, community. It's all really community focused. And I know our name is the Femme Flock, and a lot of times we get questions, what is femme? Femme, Femme, is our inclusive term for like non-gender exclusivity. There's no requirement to be part of the Femme Flock. We really want to be speaking to everyone. We want to be including everyone. We do say women instead of females when we refer to women on the pod, as it's just a bit more inclusive. Did I cover that? What is the Femme Flock? We're just a group of girlies who likes to go to shows and dance and scream and hug each other. That's really what we are, right? The Femme Flock is a state of mind. If you believe in it, if you believe in like our values and what we're doing, and you're part of it, and we're really happy you're here.
So me and Jess met with another one of our friends, Kara, on Twitter in the Goosefish Twitter realm in 2020-ish, during pandemic time when everybody was kind of stuck and losing their minds. And just became friends, ended up going to Goose Show at Asbury Park, rented a house with a bunch of other people from the socials, and just kind of clicked and became friends. And during a conversation, an actual thread on Twitter, this was before it became the cesspool it is now, we pointed out that there was no women-led community, women-led podcast. So we wanted to make sure everybody felt welcome, that everybody felt seen. And this was the gap that needed to be filled. The representation that we try to put forward is everybody's welcome. It's not just a dude community. It's everybody. It's women. The community itself has always been welcoming. So we wanted to build something off of that felt safe, a good place where people can go and be themselves, their most authentic selves, and not feel excluded. The biggest thing that we want to get across, our mission, is to speak with everybody. It's not just women. It's not just LGBTQ. It's not just people of color. It's men. Because if the men aren't seeing our vision, then we're not doing it right. We need everybody on board. So welcome men. We have men in our street team. We have men supporting us on all levels. And we just want to continue to have this grow. It's not big enough. It never will be big enough.
From what started like you, me, and Kara in a room being like, how the fuck do we make a podcast, to now we can't go to shows without people being like, oh my God, Femme Flock. And
it's so different. It's so different. It started out with how in the heck could we possibly do this, to we can do this. We can figure this out. It's just bigger and bigger is what can we not do is more of it. I think I like that view of it better. What can we not do? Which so far it's not been a whole lot. No. It's insane. It's beautiful. I love it so much.
I feel like we should talk about how exactly do we amplify women and underrepresented voices, because we talk a lot about doing that, but like what does that actually look like in practice?
What's funny is we get this question a lot, especially more recently at because Goosemas was just recently, and even at Fish, like people are coming up and being like, so this is great, but like what actually do you do? Like I know your mission statement, but like how are you doing this in action? And the most obvious answer, and this is I feel like the first answer that we give people, is our actual physical podcast, Flock Talk with the Femme Flock. If you don't listen, well, you're listening to it right now. So like every single session that we've had, or at least like 95% of it, the interviews have been centered on women or people who identify with the queer community or other creators in the scene that identify either within one of those two binaries or are considered allies. And what I really love is that each one of those episodes
is centered on like actual meaningful conversations with those people to get a true essence of like what their identity is and how that positively contributes to our scene. It's not just like trying to get sound bites to like get engagement on socials. Like, we truly care about the people that we're having these conversations with, and we're trying to portray that to our listeners. And I think that that's evident. And all of the people that we've had, they're not just people that are making music, even though that's important. We talk to organizers, people who are stylists for people who are artists, curators, photographers, vendors, people who are doing the same things as us, who are just trying to build more of a community. And maybe some people who are those types of leaders, but people don't know that they are, or like how to get involved or where to find them. So that's number one. Two, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I think the street team is a great example of that. For those of you who don't know, we started a street team this year. I'm your point of contact. Hi, Andy. And I feel like that's like a really low barrier entry point to sort of get involved into the community, because it makes it less scary and less intimidating. We've created this space where people can just be like, well, let me start small. The street team is like a community. I think we've got like 15, maybe a little bit more people right now. That's a way more palatable amount of people to try and become friends with and get involved with than like the 20,000 people at MSG at Fish this year, So in that, you feel less intimidated to come up to us, say hi at a show, follow us on social media, be a part of the conversation, all that good stuff. And then I would say the last thing would be how we amplify through our actual action and our involvement in the community. And I would consider this like where our representation comes from outside of this quote unquote like femme part of our identity. So this would be like all of the underrepresentation that exists outside of just being or identifying as a woman. Like, we have our charity partner, Jess and I just did this. We had our little food drive at Brooklyn Bowl. So we raised money for that, and we got a lot of food donations, and we auctioned off a drum head, and we got a lot of positive feedback from the community. That's not our only charity partnership though. We worked with Conscious Alliance and Western Sun Foundation and all that good stuff. And even at Flowdown this year at Goosemist, we met up with Fans for Racial Equity, which I thought was really cool. So that sort of like speaks to us, even going outside of just the Goose community, which I feel like is like where our first and foremost presence is, but even like expanding beyond that. And, the more that we show up, the more that we put our faces in places where people are, the more people see it. And the more people see it, the more it becomes normalized. And then more people feel inclined to get involved. So, if you really want to know what we do, those are the three categories. And I feel like that's a pretty good way of trying to describe it.
I completely agree. And to harp on that even more, the Femme Flock ran Night Zero for Goosemist this year. It's the third year in a row that Night Zero has existed, and it's really just like a community gathering before Goosemist. Started by fans, and it's grown like crazy. And last year, I was heavily involved, and after the show, after Night Zero, I got off stage and I looked around and I was like, wow, I was literally the only woman involved in the start to finish planning. There were no women on stage. There was no one else involved in this whatsoever. And so for this year, well, I guess now it's last year, I made a very strong commitment to myself and the community to make sure there were more involved. So our entire team was involved. We had volunteers. I made sure Nico Suave was hosting. Nora Brody did the art for the shirts. Sarah Ellis came and sat in as a bassist. I wanted to have more representation, and even if it's not like, well, there wasn't a women-fronted band on stage, like, small incremental changes are us making a difference where we can, and that's how change and progress happens.
And women getting recognized and compensated for their time and their effort, which
so important.
So important.
So what else do we do? I'm going to ask Leighton.
What don't we do is the question. I think that's the right question to be asking. Well, as we've kind of talked about, advocacy is our base. That's what we are here to do. We are uplifting women, queer folks, and underrepresented creators, community members through visibility and platforming as we provide a safe place at shows for everyone involved. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. I think we've touched on a few of these things, and if you're listening right now, you might already know this, but we have a podcast where we do have conversations with artists and creators and community and community leaders. So I have a question for everyone. What is everyone's favorite episode that we've done?
Well, I particularly like the Gen Z episode. It put a little bit of a spotlight on the youngins, which is fantastic. They're the ones that's going to carry this on even after I'm gone and you're gone. We need the youngins involved. And it very enlightening, very educated women that were speaking in that. And it was just a beautiful episode to see because you forget how young you were when you started in this scene. And you end up like me at 52 going, what the heck? It's been 30 years. But there's still these young people that are getting on board every single day. And it's just a beautiful thing that it's a big circle. And I just don't think it could have been done any better. You guys did such a good job, Leighton.
Thank you. Ricky also talked about this concept of like it was either a connected thread or a continued thread between generations. And I really like that parallel of kind of how we continue the legacy as we move forward. But I thought that paired really well with the Gen Z episode. Carly?
And one of the reasons the Femme Flock is so important to me is because we need to make that safe space so that younger generation does want to join, does want to come in, does see people in the scene that they're like, hey, that's me. Like they're there. I could totally be there. Which I think for me, because I started in 2015 going to Dead shows and I didn't know anyone my age going. And it wasn't until I started meeting people my age that I was like, oh, and I saw other women and I was like, oh, I totally belong here. I'm not like some standout in the crowd. And so I think that's also really important about that Gen Z episode is like, so people can see like, oh, there's other people like me there. And that just keeps the music going, which I love.
Carly, what's your favorite episode?
Well, I think I'm biased. Mine was the Sarah Ellis episode, partly because that was the first episode I was involved in, which was really cool. But I also loved it just because I've been a longtime TikTok follower of Sarah's, and it was cool to see her journey into the jam world, especially going from a fan, PH fan, into playing music, playing for audiences, and just like a very cool take on, being a woman in the scene just as a, casual showgoer into being a woman on stage and what that looks like for her and how she ties in fashion and fun. And it's just, she's like the perfect definition of like embracing all things femme flock, glitter, fun, chaos, a bit. She gets it, and I can appreciate that. So I love talking to her, and I love that episode.
I mean, I'm also a little biased because Sarah was also the episode that I got to join in on for the first time. But don't get me wrong, I've been a long time listener of this pod, okay? I've listened to every single episode front to back. So I'm going to bring it way back. I would have to say one of my favorites is the Galentine's episode from, God, was it last year or 2 years ago at this point? And I just think it just perfectly encapsulates our mission is like trying to get as many women and underrepresented voices a platform so that they can talk about their passion projects and what they do and how they contribute to this community and how we can support them. It was just so cool because there was such a wide variety of vendors and creatives and creators on there who, we gave them a platform to speak their truth. And I thought it was really cool. That's one of my most frequently revisited because it also gives me a lot of good ideas on what Etsy shops to go to and things like that. But yeah, that's me. That's my point. Jess.
Okay, I've said this so many times, but when people ask me what my favorite episode is, I usually go back to the Megan Guiona episode, the Megan Dance, for those who know her on socials. Megan is a podcaster. She is, I would say, the leading women's voice in the fish scene. She's been seeing fish since the 90s. She has multiple podcasts, HF Pod being one of them. And she came to us after our episode with her and said that was the first time she's been in a room talking about jam bands with only women. And she's been doing this for 30 years, which is crazy. And we had such a great conversation with her. I'm talking about being the only woman in the scene and doesn't matter what you wear to shows and like your husband's not there. How are people reacting to you? And it was just such an important conversation. And she's so cool. I got to do one of the nights of fish with her this last week, and it was just so fun to see her geek out over her first love. And yeah, I would highly recommend listening to Megan Guyana's episode.
Plus, she knows her shit. She knows her shit,
Yeah.
and she can stand up to anybody in the scene with her information and knowledge about fish. So I have mad respect for that woman.
Being a woman with a platform, we have so much more pressure to know our shit here because there's so many more eyes on, and you know, women get scrutinized so much more than men. So she talked about it in the episode how like she feels like she needs to know everything because people will call her out if not.
She's someone in the scene. I think she is like the woman that I like look up to and aspire to be because like her, I'm here for the jams. I like the jams, and she can get into the nitty gritty and talk about it and prove any man wrong, but not in a degrading way, but in a way that's insightful and mind opening, and just the way that she's able to communicate music through words, which is very hard to do. She stands out from the rest, and I think that's really important. But if I'm going back to my favorite episode, I think I have to shout out the Nico Suave episode. I mean, that episode was all things fun, eccentric. Nico is unapologetically herself. She embraces being a woman to the max, and she is always looking to explore and expand her horizons as a human being, as a woman, as a musician, as a professional, as a comedian. And I think that's something that a lot of us could take to heart and just allow us to lean into ourselves more, because in this world, a lot of us kind of hesitate to do that out of fear of judgment, and that is the last thing that she's afraid to do, is to be afraid of being judged.
It's a quirky episode, it's kind of an inappropriate episode, and it's stock full of goose lore because she went to high school with some of them.
I also think it, like, all of the lore and like the connectedness that she has to the band when like we thought it was just through Cotter, it's proof that all of us in some way somehow are connected to people in this scene, in this community. You will dive in and think, oh, I don't have that much of a connection, or I have one or two connections, and all of a sudden you're seeing people from your hometown, you're seeing people that your parents grew up with, that your kids are friends with. Like, everything comes together at some point in some way, in so many ways. And I think that that episode is like a good representation of like kind of how kismet happens and how the world is, and kind of the joy of coming together. 6 degrees of separation is such a real thing. Something else that we do is the street team, Andy, which I know that you've talked about. We're really building that real world community and support at shows. So it's not just us representing the Femme Flock, but we have other people that are there for us, so that we're including everybody. We encompass everywhere. We want to be everywhere. We want to be at 5 different shows in 5 different states on the same night. That's why we have the street team. That's what we're here for. We also have the events, like we've mentioned, the collaborations, the charity partnerships, Night Zero, food drives, giveaways. We had the Flock the Halls gift swap, which was like a secret Santa of sorts within the community. And then we also had our Flocksgiving giveaway, where we got to promote those vendors and those awesome people in the community and kind of give back to the fans, because at the end of the day, we aren't anywhere without fans. And finally, I think that kind of carries us into this conversation of the content that we're putting out. So I'm going to let Carly take that one over.
Well, I think if we're going to talk about content, we have to realize like none of this would be possible. No one would show up if we didn't have content to promote things. If we didn't have content to share with you guys and show you guys what we're doing, how we're doing it, who's involved, who's there. I think, like we mentioned earlier, you know, the more you see something, the more normal it gets, and, you know, you feel more involved. And none of that would be possible if you didn't see it on your phone or on your laptop or whatever. And that's my favorite thing to do, is the content. You know, this year specifically, we put out city guides so that people knew where to go and what to do on a show day if they were in a city they've never been to before, which was really fun. And we had the community involved in that too. You know, people sent us suggestions. We compiled it and gave you a little pretty guide to refer to. We do our fashion guides. So people have ideas of like, what should I wear to a show? Well, here's, 100 different ideas of things you could wear, everything from sparkles to spinner skirts and a big t-shirt and a hat like I wear, but we kind of have it all. And a Pinterest board with even more ideas. We also do resources. So any sort of, community organizations that offer free resources, we're sharing that, making sure people know how to get involved in those organizations and, make a positive impact to the community, because that's our biggest goal too, is just making a positive impact and getting the other people involved in that. And then I think, obviously we did a lot this year. 2025 was a big year for us. But I think that leads into bigger and better things in 2026. I think 2026 is going to be the Femme Flock's year. And I think this is kind of a group conversation of what, all of our goals are for the Femme Flock for 2026. I know probably the biggest thing is just to keep growing, get more people involved, more partnerships, bigger platform, socials and all, but having more meetups and activations and ways to connect in real life. I know the 5 of us are all spread out across the country, so that makes things a little easy. We could have a meetup in Denver while we're having a meetup in New York, which is really cool. And then I think just continuing to emphasize making this scene more inclusive and expressive and creative and femme forward and all the things. And I think to do that, we have some advice for you guys to make this year and beyond amazing. Andy, you want to kick us off with some Femme Flock advice?
Yeah, I think speaking to this whole concept of community, which is obviously like at the forefront of like our vision, I think one of the most underrated things is making friends with the people who you're sitting next to at a show. You never know what day the person next to you is having. And if you can like create a good vibe with all the people surrounding you, it makes that show like 1,000,000 times better. So my favorite way to do that is to give them a little silly something. My favorite thing to do is we have these diffraction glasses that you put them on and they look like normal prescription glasses. I can't even tell you the amount of times I've tried to hand someone these glasses and they're like, no, like I'm good. I can see. Those aren't mine. And I'm like, no. Like these are not from Costco Optical. Please put them on. And then as soon as they do, like the amount of like pure joy that just like radiates from people's face when they put them on and they realize that they're seeing stars or hearts or smiley faces or something like that. It's like, it makes it, oh my God. I have a whole album in my phone of me taking a picture of people's reactions when they put those glasses on.
It's so good. There is nothing like the first
It's
time
amazing.
you wear heart diffraction glasses.
I think we have them like listed, so like they're linked somewhere on some sort of guide. But if you don't know, just
link in our bio. We have a guide to all of our favorite toys and toys and trinkets. Because the glasses are not the only thing that we believe in.
Yeah, but they're like $10, maybe $15 at the most on Amazon. Buy 1 or 2, hand them out. I think they even have like temporary cardboard ones that you can literally hand out as many as you want to people. Just spread the joy. That's my advice.
And a good show neighbor makes for a good show. So, I'm with you, Andy. I will always hand out a sticker or a Schneider or little eyeball rings or a monkey noodle to the people around me just to like establish some rapport and be like, hey, I'm going to be an ally to you tonight if you be an ally to me tonight, because small girls sometimes get walked on at shows and we don't want that.
Some suggestions. What is the most important thing to me at a show that you could do is bubbles. Lots and lots and lots of bubbles. Now, you got to be careful. You cannot call them bubble guns anymore because people tend to get a little defensive about that word. So they are now bubble wands, whether that be the ones that you blow or the ones that are powered by batteries. They have these long ones now that like you can hold like an actual wand. I have a couple of those. If you see them, that's usually me.
A launcher?
A bubble launcher. They're all there. And you know what? They cost like, I don't know, you can get 2 for $20. And I get 1 a year. So I just get brand new ones every year because they kind of don't last very long. But they work and they're effective. And rarely does anybody complain 99.9% of the time, people are thanking me for bringing the bubble gun. 99.9% of the time, and asking me to bring it more. So bring your bubbles. People will love them, and they do create a vibe for everybody. You cannot be unhappy when bubbles are around your head. I promise you this.
It's also a good place for you to like mark your territory. Like if I
And
see bubbles from the floor, Nikki, at a show that I know you're at, I'm like, oh, there's Nikki. There she
yeah,
is.
yes, I'm a good totem pole with my bubble gun. You can find me where we're supposed to be.
Okay. My advice would be to be polyamorous. I think it's so important to go not only to shows that you want to go to, but go to shows that you don't particularly want to go to or aren't feeling as compelled to go to. It is so important to see different kinds of music, different bands, because at the end of the day, once again, like this theme of connectedness is coming back, but being able to connect with people in different communities who perform in different bands, who stand for different missions in the music scene is so important. And at the end of the day, who doesn't love going to a show, meeting new people, and then going to a show a month later and seeing those people and it feeling like, oh my gosh, we're best friends now because we ran into each other twice. And at the end of the day, we're all kind of on this music journey together. So it's so important to go see different bands and really embrace the opportunity of being able to do so.
I think my biggest piece of advice and something that I live by is there's no right way to do a show and to be confident in the way that you want to do a show. Everyone has their thing, Jess hands out lollipops, Andy hands out glasses, Nikki has her bubble gum, Layton, you do it all. I don't even know.
Paying attention and taking notes.
That's true. That's true. And for me, it's, finding as much space as physically possible and taking my shoes off so I can be barefooted. And I think understanding that, yeah, some people might be like, okay, what is this girl doing? You look insane. But that's the way I want to do my show. That's the way I'm going to enjoy the music and feel connected to the music and the band. And I think it's just important for yourself to embrace how you want to do a show. If you want to take a video of a song, take a video of a song. Who cares? I think, if you don't want to use your phone at all, don't use your phone. I think everyone's show experience is unique, and I think we need to be respectful of other people's show experiences because then they will show respect to you. And it's all about just having fun with each other and enjoying that. And you'll find people that do shows just like you, and that's a great group to be a part of. It can change per show. What I do at a dead show is different from what I do at a goose show or a fish show. And I think that's pretty cool too. So that would be my advice.
I have one thing to add that we didn't really mention, and that is being respectful of the people around you and not having full on life discussions during the music is probably one of the most important things out there. If you want to say the song is friggin' awesome and you're seeing pink elephants fly above the stage, that's great. But we don't need to delve into why your childhood trauma is coming up at this moment. We need to talk about that at another time, or what you did with your kid at their school recital. I
And if
really
you do want to
appreciate
talk
people
about that,
connecting. Yes,
if
we
you do
do.
want to talk about that,
It's not
go
during the
somewhere,
music.
go somewhere where people can't hear you.
Yeah,
Go to the
there's a
bathroom.
bar across the street usually.
Or
I-
eat a lollipop. That's my.
And if somebody asks you politely to please stop speaking while the band is playing, you can't be angry. You just have to understand that you are interrupting their show experience, and it's a respect thing. We paid the same amount of money as you did. We should all be able to hear the music and not your conversation. And that's all about respect. And part of the community is being respectful to each other, no matter where you're from or who you are.
Preach.
So I guess talking about the community, that comes to my advice. And community as a word is a verb. It is something you actively participate in. It is not something you watch go by you. It is something that we are all called upon to engage in. And you get what you put back, like what you put in. So if you want to embody the Femme Flock, if you want to be part of the jam scene, I would call on everyone to be an active participator. And like, that doesn't mean starting a podcast. I mean, it can, go for it. But it means like coming to a flow down or making a sticker or saying hi and seeing a friend have a bad time and giving them water. Anything, active participation, I think, is really important, particularly in this community, especially if you want to get something back. And it's really rewarding. Look around, look at what we have here. Like, this is fucking cool. And yeah, I think that remembering that community is an active participation is my advice.
Yeah, on that topic, I think that we should talk about how all these lovely people, all of our Femme Flock members can get involved. Andy, you want to kick that off?
Yeah. So what's really cool is the street team started this year, and it was like sort of like a brainchild between all of us about like, you know, our actual physical, like the 5 of us has grown. Obviously, it started off as 2, now we're at 5. And so we were like, how can we get this to be even bigger? How can we push our mission and our voices and our message across the whole country and beyond? And so I'm really proud of the group that we have so far, and I can't wait for it to grow. It's also a way for us to have those show buddies that we talk about. Like, I can't even tell you the last time I went to a show and I didn't see at least 5 to 10 people that I know, or that I gave a hug to, or gave a sticker to, or invited to my section if I had extra room to dance. And so now with this street team, we're creating those little pockets of friendship and community for everyone involved. And creating those safe spaces that we talked about, and increasing our presence and normalizing all the good stuff that we talked about. And also, not for nothing, if you want to get materialistic, it's also, the street team is a really good way to get stickers and goodies from us. 2026 is the year that I'm hoping that it'll grow, and we'll have like leaders in different regions for them to start their own little street teams in their regional areas and things like that. So this is only the beginning, and it's going to get even better, which I'm very excited for.
And if you're hearing this in the beginning of the year, we will be doing another street team onboarding webinar coming soon for those who haven't had that
too.
already.
So, yeah, we had a lot of people. We held 2 this year, or I guess in 2025, and we had a lot of people reach out being like, I can't join. Is there any other way for me to? And even if you can't join the official onboarding, although it is very highly recommended and we feel like you should, just reach out to us, and there's always a way that you can get involved, even in a smaller way if you don't have the capacity to, jump head first. So always just reach out to us. There's always a yes answer in some way, shape.
Yep, so true. Nikki and I have some other ways that you guys can get involved as well. First of all, thank you for listening to Flock Talk Now, and we ask that you continue to listen. You can listen on all streaming platforms, Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We've recently launched our video, so I hope you're watching our beautiful faces on YouTube. If not, you can go to YouTube and do that right now and listen all over again. That would be even better. And then volunteer and collaborate with us on events, whether it's put on by us or other community organizations. Getting out there is so important. If you have something that you'd like to write about or blog about, we would be over the moon elated to share that on our website at www.thefemflock.com. Nikki, what other ways can the people get involved?
Well, Leighton, they could tag us on all the socials when they post a picture, a video. They have stickers they give out. They could put us in there, or the ones that we give out for the street team. There's a million ways to do this. We want to see it all. We want to see your outfit pics. Send us those pre-show outfit pics. Oh my goodness. Tell us what you're doing to get to the show. We want some video of you driving from Colorado to New York. Let us know. We want to be tagged. Tag us anywhere. The socials. You can also follow us on any of the socials. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We are on TikTok. Also YouTube, but that's a little bit different. So also you can support community initiatives with the organizations like Conscious Alliance, Western Sun Foundation, all the flow downs that we have with all the vendors that we end up going to. We're usually at most of them for the big show runs. We try to have at least one of us there as long as we go to the shows. Show up at those. Be a vendor at those. Volunteer your time with Western Sun. Volunteer your time with Conscious Alliance. That's all part of the community. We're all connected. And then another big thing that you could do is sponsor us or partner with us. We're always looking for ways to expand what we do, and that does cost money. It's not free to make stickers. It's not free to buy all the monkey noodles and lollipops and to pay for this platform to create a podcast. It costs money. So right now we can take money in any increments that you have. Just let us know. And if you want to be an actual sponsor, we can mention you in the ads that we have, or we can put you in some of the flyers that we do or on our socials. So just keep us in mind for that. We'd love to partner up with you to promote what we do and what you do.
I feel like we've talked about a lot. I feel like we should wrap it up. I first want to say thank you to you for, if you had told me in November 23 when Kara, Nikki, and I got together and said we were going to do a podcast, I actually said out loud, I said, okay, I'll be involved periphery. Let me know if you need anything. 2 years later, where the fuck are we? It's crazy. This shit has taken off in a way I could never have expected, and it has been a lot of hard work from a lot of people. The 5 of us and so many more. So thank you, ladies, and then also thank you to some of the people who helped us get here. One of which is Garrett Dorfman. He's our board of directors. He's been involved since day one. We really could not have done this without him, as well as Kara Yates, who we've mentioned a couple of times. This was her brainchild. This took off because of her. So thank you, Kara. I also want to say thank you to Beachhead Goose Radio and the Wisteria Lane community. They're very active in the goose scene. They have been supporters of us from day one. Thank you for being allies, for being our friends, for amplifying what we do, for doing it with smiles and hugs, and we love you guys so much. Next, an invitation. If you're listening to this, you understand, you care, you align with our mission. We invite you to be part of our team, to be part of our community, to join us on this silly little journey of making the world a better place. Not so silly when you frame it that way, but come join us. The Femme Flock is a state of mind. Be polyamorous. See everything. Keep an open mind. Say hi to your neighbor. Share a hug. Be inclusive. And then wear glitter and dance. Those, I think, are really what it comes down to, right, ladies? Actively participate in this community. We call on you to join us. We want that. This shit matters. So thank you all for being here. You can find us, as Nikki said, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit. We have a Reddit community. Come join us. Help make that a little bit bigger. Where else? Blue Sky. We have a website. Please submit blog posts. Tag us in your content. Donate. Do whatever you can to be part of this. We want you here.
Come say hi. If you see any of us anywhere, come say hi. Give us a hug. That's important. Come say hi. Be our friend. We want more friends. You guys are all freaking cool, and we want you guys to be our friends. This is what we're based on. Friendship, no matter what. So yeah. Come say hi.
Be our friends. Come give us hugs. All of us will say yes. Ask permission, though. Consent is important.
No grabby.
No grabby.
Thank you guys all for giving us your time and your ear when you do. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you guys. And thank you guys.
So happy to be here. Yay.
Love you guys. Love the Femme Flock.
Flock forever.
Love. Peace.
Flock on.
Flock on.
Flock, yeah.
Walk around and find out.
Flock off. Let's hit end.
This pod is made by women for everyone. We wouldn't be here without you, and we want to hear from you. If you want to get involved with the Femme Flock, fill out our Get Involved form on our website, thefemmeflock.com. That's FEMME. We are currently building a street team of folks across the country of all ages and backgrounds who love spreading the word about inclusivity and fun. Tag us on socials if you're dancing at a show with your crew, showing off your outfit, hosting or attending a community event, or promoting something you think we'd love. If it's for the community, we're here for it and we want to see it. The space is for everyone, and we're so excited you're a part of it. Don't forget to follow along with the Femme Flock on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky, or join our Reddit community. Talk to y'all soon, and flock on.
Osiris.